Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Podcast. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about news, events, things happening in the Rainbow Six Siege community. Remember, guys, if you like what you hear, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notify button so you're up to date when I upload. Tonight's guest, Ice Cat. We're going to be talking about Alibi. How we doing today, Ice Cat?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing good. Last time we talked about Maestro. The new season, Operation Para Bellum, is going to be dropping on the 7th, we found out today.
Yep.
So I'm excited about that, so we can start playing sooner than later. But before we do that, we're going to talk about Alibi, the other defender from the Italian CTU. She's a hologram operator, which actually has been something that the community has been requesting. I'm excited to play with her. I know, did you have a chance to play with her on the TTS?
I did a little bit. I was actually spending a little bit more time with Maestro, but just because his gadget I feel was had more need for experimentation for me to kind of get a grasp of. But her gadget is it's very cool, but it's honestly pretty simple to understand.
Yeah, it's technically what she has 3 holograms. Each of one of them is stationary. She throws them out. It looks like a very complex Rubik cube unfolds, and these holograms pop up. Little distinct features are that she's on default skin, and she has the MX Force Storm, which we'll be getting into later of what her primaries are. But that's kind of the gist of it, really. There's nothing else beyond that, besides when you shoot at the holograms, you get tagged like Jackal. Correct?
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting thing to do, and I don't mean interesting in a good way. That they limited the holograms to being the default operator uniform, because once you know that the Alibi is not wearing the default uniform, I mean that's pretty much your giveaway right there.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I guess that being said, if you round a corner and you see a thing standing there, I suppose you're not looking at it for 2 seconds to see if it's the right uniform or not. But I don't know. I just thought that was a little strange.
Yeah, up close you could probably notice it, but I'm pretty sure because I'm seeing a lot of videos on it, a lot of content on it. Obviously, I don't have a PC that I could play the TTS, so I don't know what it's like. But like at first glance, it's meant to create doubt and judgment when you enter a room. So therefore, it's your first instinct when you see somebody is to turn and shoot at that person, right? So if you have 3 people or 4 people in a room and 3 of them are not real, it's kind of it's an odds against you at that point. But how do you feel that she's going to be, or with the meta the way it's going to be, do you feel that she's stronger, or do you feel like she's going to fade out?
It's really hard to say. I think that there's some people whose gameplay style it will really fit. She's a roamer, but she's not like a Cav is almost like a universal roamer, or a Pulse is like a universal roamer. She's like a niche roamer. In order to use her ability, I mean, not just like her weapons lit up, but to use her ability, it's kind of like a niche thing where you have to try to set up these situations deploying those things where you think the enemy is going to come from, and you may even have to be ready to really quickly pick your hologram emitters back up again and get set to run somewhere else and redeploy them if where you put it is not where they're entering or whatever. I mean, I don't know, it's some elements of the way she's used feel a little bit situational and may not complement every roamer's play style.
Yeah, she seems like a kind of roamer that is it's not I feel that there's 3 different, there's 2 different types of roamers. There's a roamer that's close to objective, sticks around, within 10 to 20 feet, somebody who can quickly run back into objective if need be. And then there's the heavy roamers, the ones that are way off site, like your Ellas, your Jaegers, sometimes your bandits, things like that. I feel that she's going to be in the more of the closer to objective roaming, kind of like perimeter defense in a sense. And I can kind of see her use, at least with my playstyle. I play Ella, and I'm actually going to compare the two. Is if she's kind of the new Ella, because the way I play her is I throw out 2 Grismots, and then I keep one on me, so if I'm kind of get pushed, I can chuck one out and kind of does that. I feel like people are going to use her in the same way. Do you feel that she's kind of in the meta that it's going to be? Is she the new Ella?
I don't think so. I mean, first of all, you cannot compare the MX4 Storm to the way that the Scorpion was when it first came out with a
No.
50 round magazine and like no recoil. Now the TTS version of the MX4 Storm did not have a lot of recoil, and they said that they were going to be adjusting that for the live release. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little unsure how that weapon's going to wind up handling post test server. But yeah, I mean, that alone right there, like Ella with that 50 round Scorpion at her launch was just like
It was
a god
scary. It was
character. Yeah.
scary. Like, I hated
um
playing against that. It was just like I feel like I don't know if it's gonna have the same effect though, because whenever there was an Ella on the other team and you saw there was an Ella, it just created that kind of not fear, but kind of like, this is really not gonna be fun, is it? And I don't know, like, is Ella or is Alibi in that category of like you see her and it's gonna create that like, this is not gonna be really fun, is it? Like,
yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see because I feel like she's an operator that her ability will naturally foster creativity
mm-hmm.
more so than any other defensive gadget, because it's all about where you put the emitters and how you use them, because they're twofold, right? The
Yeah.
first thing that you want to do with the hologram is you want to, as you said, cause that moment of indecision, like, wait, is what I'm looking at a person or not a person? Like, and then in that hesitation, is that causing you to get shot when you have that moment of doubt? The second way of using her is that, of course, when you fire upon those, or even when you drive your drone through one, you will actually ping your location. So you've got that tagging feature on it too, and creating situations. Like I can easily see creative players using it depending on what they're trying to do with it. Like you can go into that room and set up all 3 of the holograms there and then position yourself as like a 4th version in there. And then when somebody enters the room, they're like, oh, which one's the real one?
Yeah.
Or conversely, rather than doing that, you can create situations where you're trying to force the attacking team to either shoot that hologram or drive their drone through it. So I can see creative strategies where, because of course the hologram emitter base, if you destroy it, you will obviously destroy the hologram. So, like maybe putting that emitter behind a deployable shield or behind like, half point cover so that you can't see the base, you can't destroy the base. But then setting it up in such a way that like in order to come into the objective, they have to vault that shield, which will
Yeah.
automatically ping their location. So even if you're not in that room, you're like forcing them to ping it, or putting that hologram emitter, say you put that hologram emitter at the base of a drone vent, the hologram has to roll through the drone vent and it will the drone will have to come through the vent and then it will hit that emitter and it will ping the operator's location. So it's like you're creating situations where like you're forcing a shot or forcing that drone to hit it.
Yeah, and like with that being said though, like, yeah, it creates that you have to go through it unless you are Thatcher, Glaz, or Twitch. Because then, Glaz being oddly enough, the biggest counter to her, because obviously her holograms don't pop up on the thermal scope as would she. So unless you're getting peeked by a glass through the door, yeah, it creates this, I have to go into this room and they're going to know where I am. It's almost like having a lion, but for defense, in a sense of they're gonna know my position, they're gonna know where I am, and then I have to figure out which one is the real alibi, because there's still 2 or 3 other ones I have no idea which one is which. Do you think that it's more how can I put it politely, more at higher skill level? How do you feel that she's going to be implemented, if she's going to be implemented?
That's really hard to judge because, as I said, I think that her ability strongly relates to a player's creativity of how they're using her gadget. I don't think at the higher levels of gameplay they're going to necessarily be falling for the fact that the gadget is an illusion, because at higher skill levels, everybody's moving very quickly. Nobody stands still at high level gameplay. They just don't.
Hmm.
So you're not going to be having that hesitation. Like, even when Pro League is holding an angle, I mean, they're still like, they're checking their other angles, pretty consistently with, like, flicks and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that the hologram aspect of it is going to be what's used in higher level play, but I think it'll be more that creativity I was talking about, forcing situations where, like, for instance, take like Hereford base in the basement. You've got that the armory objective, and you've got to come around that L shape to get into the room there if you're approaching by the locker side,
Yeah.
and just like lining up all three alibi holograms right there. Like, you have to either shoot the hologram to ping yourself, walk through the hologram to ping yourself, or try to shoot around the holograms to shoot somebody that's holed up in there. So in that case, the hologram isn't being used to fool anybody; it's being used to force a ping. And
Yeah.
I could see maybe on higher level play, like those kind of strats. Like, we know this isn't fooling anybody, but we're going to force you. We're going to, somehow make it so you have to ping yourself to deal with this situation.
Yeah. 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 I can see that even in lower skill play. Lower end play. I could definitely see that being a thing. I can definitely see a lot of creativity with the fact of, things like that, or even a common one now. It's pretty creative, and I actually didn't even think of it until I seen the first person do it. Was they'll hide near a hologram, and somebody will shoot the hologram, or something will happen around it, and that person will get pinged. So, but rather than going after that person, they'll just step in front of the hologram and kind of take the place of it. And so the person going around the corner, they're gonna see that, oh, like the hologram's still there. Granted, if you're using the right skin and the right weapon, but they're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to look past that, and then you die from the alibi who's standing right in front of you. So it kind of creates. It's open to creativity. It's open to how you use her, and as we've seen in Siege, it takes a bit of time for people to kind of learn new tricks and new things. So I don't think for the first 3 months we're going to notice anything drastic until you know and then after that, I think we're going to see a lot more creative things. But that with that being with her ability and all that, the other ability she has is she kind of makes everybody unknown when they run outside. How do you feel about that? Because I'm not a big fan of that part.
I mean, I get why they do it, but it's a little, I don't know. I think it is a little weird because it's like, okay, we don't want to reveal to you, if you toss out an alibi hologram, which one is the real one. Um, but if you do toss out an alibi hologram, it will reveal itself by removing its icon or whatever after like 10 seconds. So it's like, I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of a weird thing to do. And plus, it confuses the whole team's identity. So, I mean, like, I can see how that would be useful for the rest of the team. Like, all of a sudden you won't know that that was a Valkyrie that just ran out to throw a camera. Whereas as it is now, oh, I saw Valk's icon for a second or two. That means she tossed the camera. It was kind of over there on the left side, so I should be looking
Yeah,
sort of in that area for Valcam. Well, now if the entire team's identity is concealed, and it's like a question mark every time it runs out instead of the operator's icon, then you're not sure what you're looking for. So it definitely benefits the team. I scratched my head a little bit at like why they made that particular call, though. But
yeah, like, and even that being said, like on certain maps, you're gonna know, like, unless it's a late run out by an alibi, an ally or whatever doing a run out on you. But with that being said, like, where they're trying to slow this game down, but then they create this feature where runouts there's a lot more leniency towards it, and I don't feel that. I feel like maybe with an alibi it can mask her identity just because you don't know or something, but like I don't feel that's a feature I was really wanting. I don't know about everybody else, like, where these runouts you can get away with them more, but at the same time they're trying to slow the game down and bring it kind of back to where it was. I feel like this is just doing the exact opposite.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. I think it's a bit of a strange call.
Yeah, I would agree. So, but what are your thoughts on her loadout now? Like, we're gonna move on to that. Like, she has the same shotgun, the quote unquote AA-12, the deleter of walls, and she has the same revolver. But the MX Storm is kind of where I'm gonna go with that. I kind of called it like before, because I was just looking up weapons that Italian CTUs use. They at least try and put one weapon in from the CTU roughly that they use, and I've seen the MX Storm. I'm like, I can kind of see them using that, and then the leak came out with their loadouts. The MX Storm currently that was in the TTS is not what we're going to be getting. But what are your overall thoughts on the gun? Like, is it too good? Do you think it's going to need another nerf eventually, or do you feel that it's kind of balanced as it is?
Uh, I mean, so we can't really judge it on the recoil because the recoil I saw in the test server is changing, as you mentioned. However, the other profiles, as far as like its ammunition count and things like that. I mean, I think that seems, pretty fair in comparison to other SMGs that are available. And as far as like, the accessories that you can put on it for attachments, that all seems to be pretty well balanced. It's just a matter of that recoil. And it's hard for me to comment too much on what that's going to wind up being. Unfortunately, Ubisoft does have a tendency to, like when they need to nerf or buff something, they'll go like one step in the direction of what they need to do, and then they'll typically go one step further on top of it. So they'll
Yeah.
like double down on a nerf or double down on a buff. And it's like I would almost rather see them take like that incremental half step and then tweak a second time a season later if it's necessary, rather than
Yeah.
hit it too hard and then just leave it sit there. So I'm afraid that they might turn her SMG into something that's a little bit more jumpy than it should be. But we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, and like even you were saying, like it depends on what attachment. But what's the point of putting attachments on it if the enemy team sees that you have attachments on your guns? Then and if they're at least if they're vigilant and they know, like when they turn a corner and they see something looking at them, like, oh, that's it, and then they notice it's like, oh, that's actually doesn't have any attachments on the gun, or it's not the default, or it is the default skin, and I know the alibi isn't run. Like, it just kind of does the exact opposite of what you would want to do with her gadget. Her gadget, you can be
Right.
creative,
When I was using
whereas
her in the test server, I definitely found myself just kind of like leaving it completely unmodified for the most part. There's some accessories that are going to be better than others. For instance, I found putting a reflex sight on it is something you can totally do. If you see the reflex sight, it is a very minuscule sight. And if somebody can turn a corner and distinguish whether or not I've got that tiny little sight on there versus not in a half a second, then they deserve the kill that they get if they can
yeah,
distinguish it that quickly. But some of the bulkier sights, like I mean, I guess even the hollow sight, as big as it is still pretty quick to be able to take all that information in. The one attachment that I would recommend staying away from at all costs, though, is going to be the laser, because none of
yeah,
those should have a laser on it, no matter how
nope.
fast your reactions are. You see that one and you pick that out in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and another one too I thought would be, at least, like, I know I'm gonna run. I might even run iron sights because the iron sights don't look too bad. But the angled foregrip, like, I feel like that if you're trying to keep it like
Yeah, that's pretty subtle
minimalistic,
too.
it's
That's
very
very
subtle.
subtle.
It looks like the bottom of the gun. Yeah, but no laser sight. I wouldn't run the red dot. I don't even know why the red dot's still in the game, to be honest. It's such a terrible. I don't like using it.
Hey, you know what? On Twitch, I'm always running it on the
Oh,
FAMAS.
how do you do that? I can't even, like, it's such a restrictive site. But again, I guess that's where they have it, right? People like it. Certain people can use it, and certain people like using it.
There's only like two or three guns I like it on. Every other gun does not have it, but yeah, I use it on two or three guns in the game.
Yeah, I think I was using it on the SMG 11, and I was like, oh man, this is. I don't know why I was doing this. This is really hard. And but yeah, like, so as long as you keep it minimalistic on her gun, like, even you can't even put weapon skins on the guns, because it's gonna be like, oh, like, for example, if you use any of the, let's say, Red Crow skins or anything, I was like, okay, well, the actual Alibi has a bright red gun. I can pretty well pick that out. So it's like you have to run, if you're trying to run Alibi in a certain way, like, oh, like, I have to run default skin. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. It's a little restrictive. Again, I don't like that. I kind of wish that it would just like mimic your loadout to a degree, even if it was like the colors would be kind of similar or things like that. But
Right.
you know,
And I think the thing that kills me the most too on that hologram thing is that her default uniform has that bright red beret and bright red scarf. So it's like you gotta run with the bright red headgear if you want to match the holograms.
yeah,
And if you don't see the bright red headgear, then and again, is somebody going to have time to pick out that detail or not? Maybe, maybe not. But
maybe, yeah.
it's
There's gonna be the
yeah.
odd few who can, but again, like in a more casual setting, probably not. I can maybe see like you can get away with certain things, but I'm probably going to try and run it as minimal as possible, just to be like, like because I'm going to run it in a sense of where I want to take place of the holograms. I want to do things like that, and because I feel that's a pretty interesting tactic until I figure something else out. But like, yeah, I feel that's how I'm going to use her. But what operators do you feel that should be paired with best? Not yeah, I guess ones that would complement her ability, like in an information gathering sense, not like mute, because obviously mute denies any intel that you can gather on the things, but like that's a common one. But what would be a more unique or uncommon pairing that you can think of?
Well, I mean, I think she is going to pair really well with anybody that can gather the intel. Like you said, I think that she will also probably pair well with just about any of the other roamers so that they can almost sort of complementary roam. Like I think she'll be very effective for that. Like you can almost like tag team roam with her. Like
Yeah,
she almost like sets a trap that draws somebody in, causes that moment of hesitation just so that Kaveda can sneak up behind and get off the interrogation, like stuff like that. I can really see that pairing up well.
yeah, I want to try and you pair Vigil up with her, in a sense of like where she plays, because usually they'll place a couple holograms in a room if it's like not objective, if it's kind of off-site, and just stick around that, and so when they drone out, they're like, oh, there's a hologram in here, but if you're far enough away, maybe like, because the Vigil detection will be slightly further, so they might not pick it up right away. So they're like, okay, there's a hologram in this room, and there is a Vigil in this room. So it's a little bit scary, because like one's fake, but if he's vaguely near the fake one, you have no idea. So it's you have
Right.
you have everything in this room that could possibly, and this fake thing that can give away your position if you're not careful. I don't know. I feel that would be a